this tutorial, I want to take a look at how we might begin to add geometry and further refine this shape. Because right now it looks kind of blocky. And two things I wanted to introduce in this tutorial were the Insert Edge Loop tool, and also talk a little bit about polyproxy mode. First, let's take a look at the Insert Edge Loop tool. To begin to start making a denser mesh, one of the tools I like a lot is the Insert Edge Loop tool. What that does is it allows me to click on an edge and it'll create an edge loop that goes around the whole object perpendicular to that. So I'm clicking, I'm holding down, and while I have not let go yet, as long as I have it held down, I can move up and down. When I release it, it creates a new edge for us. Now notice it's orange, it's still selected, so I could go in and I could hit R, and I could go ahead and begin scaling that out to round it out some. I could I didn't like that so much, but you get the idea. What I'll probably do is go back and take these vertices here, and let's go into our symmetry settings for X, and let's reselect those. So now when I begin to move these back into place, then I might be able to move them out to kind of make a rounder shape here. Go ahead and do the same here. And just that little bit, that one edge loop, then I was able to go in and already begin to really fatten up this form. I'd like to do something like that along here as well, but I don't like how this handle goes all the way to the top. I wish the handle ended right here. So what can I do about that? So I'm going to go and just delete these two faces. So now when I do the edge loop, let's see what happens. Mesh tools, insert edge loop, and go about halfway, and then I can pull that up and it kind of rounds my teapot. I'm going to delete this face, and now I have an opportunity. I've got to rebuild some things. One of the ways that I like to rebuild things is, I'm going to turn this off, is with the Append to Polygon tool. Okay, it's in Mesh Tools, Append to Polygon. What I can do is I can click an edge, and then something that would create an edge either here would probably create a triangle, and you hit enter, which I don't want a triangle. I like to work in quads. So I'm going to hit that again. I'm going to select this opposite edge over here. And then once I have that in place, I can hit G to repeat the tool and go from here to here. And I have a quad here I could create, G, G. Now when I created it in the beginning, had I planned better, I could have inserted the edge loop before we did the extrude. It looks like I could use another edge loop here, and that way I'm going to go into my side view. I can begin to round out this shape better. And just how I'd kind of like to do the same thing I did up here on the bottom. I don't like how this goes to the very bottom. I'd kind of like it to end halfway. So I'm going to take these faces and delete those and look at the bottom, and let's see what we can do. Let's create an edge loop somewhere around here. I'm going to, with the move tool, pull that down and then reconstruct it with the Append tool. Append the polygon and just rebuild this, G, to repeat that. G, and G. See how this handle is still pretty square, so I could go in and edge loop tool. I could create an edge loop here, and I can double click that. I'll select that whole thing, and I can let's do that again. Double click and hit R, and I can begin to scale in. I could add geometry here. I'll hit G and put an edge loop here. I'm going to undo that. Let's try that again. Go a little higher, and I'm just going to scale that out just a bit. And it looks like it's rounding out things. I'm looking at the handles, and it looks like the handles are doing well, but it's getting a bit extreme here at the bottom. So what I might do is do it enough for the handles, and then shift select to kind of turn off that part. So that part's how we like it, and then just kind of pull these back in. For the top here, this is going to be a long video. I may have to break it into two, but I'm going to what would be nice would be to make a top here. And what I might do is just duplicate the whole object, Command D, and then so I'm selecting the top, and then I'm going to hold down Shift, and it's going to toggle the selection. So what I had selected is no longer selected. I'll hit delete. So I'm left with a ring. And go around this outer edge, and I can do an extrude, edit mesh extrude. And we've talked about this a little bit. What we haven't talked about is this toggle. By default, this if I begin to pull, it's going to pull perpendicular to the face, which is fine. But we can also click the toggle, and it takes it to world space. So then I can pull, hit G to do a second one, and then I can just pull directly in the x-axis. I can scale this in, and it looks black because I think it's inside out. I'm gonna hit G, toggle, pull it straight up. G, toggle, pull it straight up. Maybe make a little knob here. G, G, and just bring it in. And then this is where I would reverse my normals. So you would go into mesh display, reverse. Okay. Each face has a front and a back side, and unless you have two-sided geometry configured, it's going to show that the back side is black. So that's what that was about. But I want to append a couple of these. I want to keep quads as much as possible, so I'm just going to go here and append a polygon. Select this one and this one, and hit G and do this one and this one. G. And when I say quads, I mean just a four-sided polygon, part of the mesh. And I'm just building that. So that's an interesting shape. I would go in here and insert edge loop just to round this off. Like I said, you can't shape until you have geometry to do so. So that's a little top. And what I might do here is take this edge loop. I now want to extrude downward, so I go to Edit Mesh Extrude. And I'm just trying to push that down a little bit, a little thicker edge right there. And then pull my top on, and I hit W, and notice the pivot point's way down here. An easy way to get the pivot point back, I could hit Home key and move it, but there is also a modify center pivot, and it just puts it, and then I can bring that down. It should match up since I pulled it from the exact same geometry. It should match up nicely. We could go in smooth, do a smooth operation like mesh smooth, which will give it a lot more geometry and smooth it out. That's one way of approaching things, but I want to show you a different way. I want to show you the smooth mesh preview, which what it is it will show you what your mesh will look like if it were smooth, basically. Like if you hit 1, we're just seeing, if we have a low dense mesh, we're going to see the kind of faceted edges, and that's shortcut number 1. And if you notice down here it says display smoothness. If you hit the number 3, it will show the object smoothed. Okay, and that's kind of your smooth mesh preview. That's a level 3. If you hit the number 2, you can see both. You can see the cage of the actual mesh, and then you can see what it's going to look like smoothed. And once you have this, you can still begin to continue modeling and pulling the vertices here, and you can see how it affects the smooth mesh below it. Alright, so if there's areas I want a very sharp crease, what I need to do is add another edge loop very close to an existing one. And let me demonstrate that. Mesh tools, insert edge loop, and if I put one here, and then you see how that really tightened up. Like at the end here, it's just kind of rounded. If I put an edge loop right in the end, it just flattens that off. I could do this on the bottom and flatten that up anywhere. And some, it's here. It says you don't have to put them. I'm thinking of putting them kind of where these things join. I could make a crease here at the top, something like that. Just wanted to introduce that. So that's what it looks like with 3. It's a lot smoother, and we were able to put these things there. Now the thing is, when you have lines close together, you're going to start getting these harder edges the closer your lines are together. So just remember that. I could do the same thing with the top here, which it kind of looks good without that. So I am going to move that out of the way temporarily, and I'm going to bring this whole top here, make sure I didn't select it, just down. I didn't need it that high off. We could go in here, and I'm going to go to the 2. I'm going to select both these faces. I'm going to do an extrude, and where I'm going to click this so it's in the middle. I'm going to click the scale, and I'm going to bring it in just a little, hit G again, and I'm going to scale in just a little bit more. And notice how I put 2 edges really close together so it's flat, and hit G one more time, and I'm just going to push and kind of scale in, maybe not that much, and then just delete that those last faces. And that alright, and that's the smooth mesh preview, and that is so we've learned a lot in this series. I hope that's been helpful. We've learned how to extrude, we've learned how to bridge, we've learned how to add edge loops, we've learned how to reconstruct things using the Append to Polygon tool, and we've learned how using insert edge loops can begin to create hardened edges when you're in the Polygon preview. And we've reconstructed some geometry on the knob here, and that's it for the Teapot tutorial.